Hey everybody, welcome to Why We Love Horror. And for the time being, it's just Aaron and I, and we're sorely missing Abby. But I'm John Maher, and that's Aaron Brooks. Aaron, how you doing today?
I am good. Abby is also good. She will be back on the show, and she'll still be in dominating trivia here on the channel. But anyways, I'm doing well. Very surprisingly well, if we're going according to the movie we're talking about, Getaway.
So in 1824, the whole island quarantined itself until most people had either died or had turned to cannibalism.
Ho, ho, ho. Thank you for the info.
You're welcome, Daddy.
Gross.
Can we buy tickets here for the ferry?
Where are you going?
We're going to Svolta.
You cannot go there.
We've actually booked a B&B.
Look, hang on. Yeah, have a look.
Richard,
Shush. All right, let's go.
To enjoy your time on Svalta. It will be short.
Thank you.
this is your mother's house.
Yeah, she was born here.
And is she still with us?
Sadly, no. She was murdered right there in her favorite chair.
Jesus.
Sorry.
Get up out of that chair.
What's going on?
We've come on holiday to a Swedish horror film.
I feel like we are being watched.
Is this about last night?
What happened last night?
What do we do?
I'm not going to be scared away by these people.
Bringing those people here was wrong. We will put things right.
Coming here was a big mistake for you.
Why?
Well, we better get on.
I thought we were just going to scare them off.
I love you, Mummy.
The English must be offered up.
Ever since we came to Svalto, we have felt nothing but unwelcome.
Our debt must be paid.
Welcome to Svalta. They are mostly harmless.
Everything is fine.
And that is Getaway. We did see it on its opening week. A lot of films dropped this week. Very unfair to the horror community, just stacking everything on top of each other.
Yep.
But Aaron, you love this movie, so why don't you talk a little bit about what's Getaway about?
Yeah, Getaway is a movie that is about a family who decides to holiday over to Sweden, to Svalta, a very small, I don't know even what type of, basically like see Wicker Man, see Midsommar, whatever your Norwegian or this part of the world, folk kind of place is, and whatever you think of it with that, it's almost like this is National Lampoon's Midsommar, how it starts out.
Yeah.
And it's like played very kind of, funny as it goes, but it's about a family of Nick Frost and his wife, played by Eileen B, I believe is her name.
I learned it's pronounced Aisling.
Aisling B.
Aisling B.
Very, very good. I had not seen Home Alone 4 or some of the other things she'd been in, but she's going to remind you of Rachel Weisz. At least she reminded me of Rachel Weisz, but I thought in a very good way. And I mean that. And then I thought the kids were really good as well. And they, it just kind of starts out as like an English family kind of bickering and, going, against their will with the kids. Played Sam and Jesse, the boy Sam particularly, I thought was really good. And he's like a vegan with ADHD or a vegetarian with ADHD who doesn't want to be there. And just like he plays that perfectly. And overall, it brings me to kind of one of my strengths of the movie. It's just the cast as a whole, like from the people at the village in Svalta to the entire family. Everybody understands kind of their assignment. And I feel like this movie's very, very confident with, the tone it handles throughout. The first 50 minutes of this movie, and you can just kind of throw up spoilers, but just because I feel like the less you know about this, the better. Because this movie's really I really appreciate what this movie does is it's aware of its audience going in, that this audience is going to be like, okay, we know this is like a play on folk horror a little bit here. So the first like half hour or so, like you don't know if it's playing it intentionally bad or if it's kind of being campy with it. Like you don't know which lane it's going to take as it goes. So at first, I wasn't sure. Like, I liked this movie, but I was like, oh, is this kind of just going to be lazy? Like, what if Midsommar was funny? So, like, what was your kind of thoughts about how the movie started? Did you have that same kind of thought? Because it's a little formulaic, the first 45 minutes of it being just like a play on the, like, folk horror.
Well, yeah, it lays it on kind of thick on purpose to the point that you know it has to be a little bit subversive because the whole backstory of the island is that like they repelled like British invaders, you know, and like they every so many years or every year they do like a big festival where they do like a celebration where they reenact killing a bunch of Englishmen, and now real Englishmen have shown up on the island. So like, oh, these people are fucked. They're grossly outnumbered, and then also the dude that runs the bread and breakfast they're staying in, or the Airbnb, however you want to put it, is clearly creepy as shit. Like, you know,
yes, he's so good at it though.
It's played up so well. He's clearly like a sociopath, and they're not trying to hide it. There's no reveal that this guy's a sociopath. He's a sociopath the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have those two storylines going at the same time. So you don't really know where it's going to go. And I think it's done really well. Of course, and Nick Frost is at his Nick Frostiest. If you like him, you will love this movie because he delivers as like the dopey but burly man.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest Shaun of the Dead fan.
Me either.
I like, so for me, I'm not going into this like, yes, Nick Frost. Frankly, this year, hasn't been that great. I watched Black Cab. I did a review here on the channel, special edition. If you want to go back and watch that, I wasn't a huge fan of anything in the movie, I guess, besides Nick Frost. So is what I pretty much said. But Nick Frost did write this movie, produced this movie. Like this, clearly, I think he had a lot of passion going into it. And a movie it's nothing like, but what it reminds me of, and it's like commitment to its style and tone and the shifting of it is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That's a movie that really does well in the genre of folk horror here. I feel like it belongs in that pantheon. Yeah. Because for me, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is it's a great horror comedy, and there's not a ton of great horror comedies for me personally. And, without like spoiling how I feel about this movie, I don't care if it's recency bias or not. I think this is one of the great horror comedies, and I'm seeing kind of some mixed reviews of it, which is, I think, a true great sign of a good horror comedy because great bits, you don't reveal the commitment to the bits, so to speak. Yeah. So like that, that's what my boy M. Night does with all of his great comedies. He's never going to reveal their comedies. And I feel like with Getaway here throughout, even though it knows that it's a horror comedy, the way it reveals and goes about the information keeps it like really kind of fresh throughout to me, even though it's...
I think there's two kinds of horror comedies, right? There's like horror comedies where it's like a comedy in the end, but there's horror elements. And then there's a horror movie that has comedy elements. And I think this is one of the latter because it is funny and it is played as a comedy, but when they actually turn the horror up, you're like, wow, this is fucked up. Like it turned, like the third act turns a huge corner, and this becomes like, I don't even know how to like really, it becomes, if you've seen the movie Low Lives from earlier this year, this movie becomes Low Lives in the third act, pretty much, without the cannibalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it really does. And it's just like, it's not often that we're caught off guard at this point. Yeah. And I can speak for myself. I was definitely caught off guard with where they go in kind of the third act there.
Yeah, so I thought it was definitely going to be the dude, was it Mads, that owns the house, and it was going to be some kind of creepy, like, collector type shit happening. Because there's the scene that turns the movie, like the very beginning of the third act, like Mads has basically left them cookies that he's trying to get them to eat, and the cookies are laced with like something that's going to knock them out, and he is planning on doing creepy psychosexual stuff with the family. But spoiler of spoilers.
Yes,
they're the killers, and they've seen this shit before, and they turn the tables on him, and he is just the first of dozens of people they kill in this movie. And that third act is great.
Yeah, and it's such a massacre, and there's like 3 or 4 times like I'm clapping in the theater, and I'm just like, that doesn't happen for me a lot at this point. And it just, in my favorite movies, like, are always the ones where I didn't know much going in, and all of a sudden I'm having the best time ever. I mean, it's the way I discovered but the way I watched the first Saw movie back in the day. I was skipping high school. I didn't even know what Saw was. It was the only movie playing at 2:00 on a Wednesday. And we were 5 minutes late. So we were after the key got sucked through the tub. Spoiler alert for the beginning of Saw. So we were even more confused, yet that added to, like, it brought us like into the story even more and made it in. Then the last act of that happens, the last 90 seconds happen. We all know the grades of the end of Saw movies, and like, that just hits me. And, you know, the list goes on. And this movie, to me, like, the way it goes with that third act, the reason the first act, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it when it's on Shudder. And, you know, if you didn't see this in theaters and you still can, this movie is worth seeing in theaters also. It's really well done. I don't know what the production was on it, but like, they got the budget was, but they got the most out, whatever that budget was. I venture to believe they used.
The shots are great because they have that island. It's like every full horror movie. It has the Wicker Man, Midsommar elements where you were clearly in like a foreign land, and you're getting all the spectacle of being there in the right season.
Yeah, but it's never with its comedy breaking the fourth wall or anything like that, to where it's just like undercutting the tension. Sometimes there is some tension just within the story, and again, the ultimate reveals of what happens, and, you know, Nick Frost getting his arm taken out. And it's just like, they never try to, like, it's gory, but it's fun gory.
Yeah.
And it stays that way throughout. So like, when there's a potential to like make it a little grosser for a second to go extreme, they don't do that. They just keep it funny gory, I guess, is the easiest way to describe it. So he's missing the arm. He like comes out. He's already kind of recovered. It's not like draining blood. He's not going to pass out. Yes, this isn't real life. I know. It's almost like it's a movie. And, you know, he's like, can't beat my meat anymore. And she's like, gotta go southpaw. Like, it's just like, it's just, there's so much improvised comedy in this, but they're not trying to one up each other. They're trying to be funny together. And I think that, again, we haven't talked about the kids, but both kids are great as well. Or I talked about them a little bit, but like Sebastian Croft, I think he's going to be in a lot of stuff moving forward. I really do. I think he's very talented. And then Maisie Ayers, or whatever her name is, it's her first.
This is her first movie. Yeah.
Right. And she was fantastic. And she plays like a really weird role at times with the Matt's character, and like her like role in this. She's so confident in her role though. And it's just like, I expected to look at her Letterboxd and see a bunch of roles. It's the first role. It's just crazy, like top to bottom, like over and over again. The folksman named Svensson, like, it's just like little things like that just thrown in there where it's like that, you know, it's just, I appreciate the swings this movie takes, and like most of them really hit. And the part that doesn't of the first act, I bet when I rewatch it, I'm going to appreciate a whole lot more, knowing that we're in good hands with where it was going. A lot of my trepidation is this just going to be the Wicker Man but funny? And it's not. It's so much more.
We've had a couple of movies. I'm thinking like Strange Darling, for example, where it's like your protagonist becomes your antagonist. But I think the fact that this is a horror comedy, you do kind of root for your antagonist. And there's a bunch of other like elements in there. Like there's a detective that, because they killed people on the mainland, and the detective was like following the breadcrumbs to the island. But there's also like a released prisoner on the island as well. Yeah. So all of the loose threads weave together like perfectly at the end of the movie, which you also don't see. Usually they fuck it up, and they do not fuck this up.
This movie is I'm sorry. And this movie is tight 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, you're never confused. You learn all the characters' names very quickly, like, which is always a sign for me personally of like a good, engaging story. And like with all these plot threads, you'd be like, oh man, there's like a lot going on. There's things getting pushed aside. No, it all comes together. Like, the jokes that are called back to are actually funny with regards to the waffles. Like, that's actually a funny like joke, like where he's so concerned about his dry waffles, and it's not like, and maybe it's because this is not American comedy. I just think that works more effectively for me at this point. But like, you know, it's just like, I have a movie like, and this is very different, Bodies, for example, that like, it just doesn't work for me at all. And like the comedy to me is very distracting, and it like removes any tension here. Like the comedy just makes it more fun. It doesn't remove anything. It adds to it. So I've talked a lot about how much I've liked this movie and like why I've liked it. Is there anything you're wanting to get to that I haven't?
Well, I do like Bodies.
Yeah, that's fine. I know
I like that movie. I'm still wearing my state ID. Holy shit, I should have taken that off. That's what I want to add. I think we've hit everything. I think the one thing we do want to point out is like the other big reveal is that they're actually not related. I believe Nick Frost and Aisling B's character, I think they are at least, and they are at least a couple in some respect, but the kids are not their kids. They go on like a serial killer message board and they just team up. So
which is how they murder Jesse at the end.
They murder Sam. They murder Sam.
Or Sam, I mean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's great.
And that's why they don't look alike.
It also answers why they don't look alike. I
mean,
which is like one of those things right away. Someone's going to be like, that's not like, and it answers that. And it, again, waits till the very last minute to reveal that. Like, I love that. That's confidence in the comedy and the story you're telling, which I feel like they really nail here. And people will get it eventually. I think this is one that's going to grow over time.
I agree. They kill Sam because he's an annoying vegetarian.
With ADHD. Like, it's like everything about this movie, it just about nails it.
You got ADHD, now you got DEAD.
Yeah, exactly. They're just so
great line.
Yes.
All right. Well, we can get on to these ratings then. I had a great week. It was a great week at the movies. So I think I went 4.5 on this. It's great. Like I like a movie that is fun, but also great. I mean, I'll rate fun movies high. I'll rate great movies high, but it warms my heart to rate a movie that is fun and great high. So 4.5 for me. Aaron?
Yeah. I mean, this isn't really too dramatic at this point. This is a 5 videotape movie for me. This and Midsommar are 5 and 5s. And that is just like a beautiful thing. This is so much more than Midsommar parody. It really is so much more than that. It's really, really good. Really confident in the delivery. And again, I feel like there's nobody in this cast who I would switch out, which is just really
even the very minor characters. Like you have like Sven Svensson and the lady who runs the ferry and the pilot of the ferry and the detective and then the creepy returned criminal guy. They're all perfect.
Right. I don't know what I would fix about this movie.
Waffle Boy is perfect.
Yeah, everybody. Like, I don't know what I'd fix about this movie other than getting A24 and neon in front of it so more people would watch it now, but more people will eventually watch it because when it's on Shudder, I hope this is a movie that grows. It deserves it. It's really, really good. This director has my attention at this point. Stefan Harz. I'm going to check out Crazy House later, as I was talking about, another Nick Frost comedy horror that came out earlier this year. So
I'm also going to check it out. Look for a special edition on Crazy House. We're going to do it. Why the hell not? We're pumping out content on this channel.
Yeah, exactly. And this movie, pushed an A24 movie out of the main slot. So that's how good it is.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Why We Love Horror challenge. You can follow along here. We're wrapping things up. These are the final 3 weeks of the Why We Love Horror Challenge 2024. This week, watch a movie set on Christmas. It's coming up to Christmas time, so watch a Christmas horror movie. Aaron, what was your Christmas horror movie?
So I have not as many Christmas horror movies as I thought to watch, but one I've always passed on the variety of streaming services is P2. So this is my second Franck Calfoun movie of the year on the list. I watched the Maniac remake earlier. I really liked it mostly because of the direction. I feel like he makes some weird choices. Here, weird choices not in as good of a way, maybe at some points. This ends up being Stay for Wes Bentley and Rachel Nichols being able to avoid wardrobe malfunctions for 90 minutes in that dress. Props to her somehow. Wes Bentley, he's weird. But there's some really weird decisions made in like the third act that just kind of bothered me with this movie and take it away from being anything other than a solid 7.
I watched To All a Good Night, which is a lesser known slasher movie from the. It was released in 1980, which is way earlier than the movie feels, because I hate to say I kept being like, oh, this is like this other movie, but this came before all the movies that it's like, with the exception of Black Christmas. It has Black Christmas vibes, which came first. But then I'm like, oh, this is like Friday the 13th came after it. This is like Prom Night came after it. So I don't want to say that those movies are derivative of To All a Good Night, but it's suspicious because this movie is not great. It's just like a paint by numbers slasher, and the killer's dressed as Santa Claus, but it's set in California, so there's no snow. It's a palm tree Christmas. There's night scenes shot during the day. There's really bad acting, and the movie doesn't make any sense when it all comes out. But hey, if you're an In Search of Darkness completionist, you're going to have to watch To All a Good Night, so do that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That'll do it for this episode of Why We Love Horror. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Help us get that video, push that video out there. Schedule's usually the same. Mondays versus Thursdays. This Friday, Why We Love Horror Trivia this Friday. It's the Just Eclipse Championship, because, I'm not putting out too much content at the end of the year, but that is definitely happening. Aaron's playing in it. A rare appearance of Aaron playing.
I'm unretired.
Unretired just for this. But, and I have a stinking suspicion that there's other special editions this week. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. See you guys next time.